Hey folks, I wanted to do a reaction to the verdict on the criminal case that just concluded on the people versus Sean Combs, also known as Diddy or PDD or Puff. And there's a lot that that has been going on in my mind with regards to this case ever since the allegations came out and he was arrested by the FBI, by the feds, Federal Bureau of Investigation, sometime last year. He's been in prison now for like 18 months, maybe. Okay, maybe he was arrested in 2023, around about November. A lot has been said about him on the news. Smears, besmirching, people just sort of like making character assassinations. I'm just gonna put aside the like some of the comments that were made by people like 50 Cent, who I found to be just simply a despicable human being in terms of what he was doing throughout this time. I just find 50 Cent or Curtis Jackson to be just a horrible human being. And obviously, I must caveat that by saying I don't know this guy, so maybe there's something there that I don't know. There's also more to it, to a person, than their public and social media statements. I know this more than anyone because the people who know me personally tend to be very upset with my social media statements because sometimes social media doesn't represent us very well. So I'm aware of that, but I'm very upset with some of the things that 50 Cent has been saying. I've never seen anything like the way that this guy has been represented by the media. Just basically just convicting a person on social media, saying all kinds of things about him. And these are people who they were not there when these sexual parties were happening or these freak offs. They don't know anything about what happened, but people were just having this sort of like collective agreement and understanding that yeah, P Diddy is guilty. Yeah, P Diddy is this horrible human being. He's a monster. But none of these people were there. They don't know anything about what happened. And there's been like um, a consistent character assassination campaign that has been happening in the past 2 years. And I'm not gonna say that it was coordinated because I don't know if it was coordinated. It's possible. I don't know. But there's one thing that I wanted to say to men in particular, successful men, because the for as long as we've had this judicial system in the West, and by the West, I also include South Africa, by the way, that presupposes when someone is accused of a crime that they are innocent until proven guilty. It doesn't matter what crimes a person has been accused of. A person could be accused of being a mass murderer or a serial killer who is accused of having killed, say, 50 people. You could find this person with a bloody dagger for all I care, but that person still deserves due process under the law and to be treated as innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. If I put aside the limitations and the problems that comes with trial by jury in the United States of America, which I suppose could be overcome by your right to appeal, if you have a lawyer that you have money to pay lawyers to appeal it, a wrongful conviction, I would just say that it was very doubtful for me that this person, like the Sean Combs, would be able to get a free and fair trial based on how all of this constant negative coverage and assumption of guilt that has been happening in the past 2 years would have potentially actually poisoned the jury pool. I was actually very concerned about that. Because how are you going to look at the evidence objectively after the barrage and constant this person is a monster, this person is a monster, this person is not fit for polite society for 2 years. And even if we put aside about Sean Combs' sort of moral standing and his own personal choices and his wild and weird sexual preferences, which I can't say that I personally understand. But one thing that I know for sure that in the free world, people are free to engage in all kinds of kinkiness that they want to engage in as long as it's between two or more consenting adults. From what I understand, that in the West, sex parties, orgies, and all kinds of the debauchery, which maybe as a Christian you would condemn, is perfectly legal. And doing all kinds of these weird and wild sexual experiences with drugs and alcohol and escorts, and assuming that people are not getting paid, okay, by the way, it's legal. You might not like it, you might frown upon it, you might find it weird, you might find it, but it is perfectly legal. And it also has reminded me that the amount of men, successful and very powerful men, who have been accused of sexual assault in the past few years. And a lot of these accusations are not criminal accusations. It's mostly civil with the aim of getting a payout. It has made me to believe that a lot of this stuff is just simply a scam. And also the frequency of how it's happening. Even like Tyler Perry recently was accused of sexual assault. Shannon Sharp recently was accused of sexual assault. This person wants millions of dollars. Jay-Z was accused of sexual assault recently. And none of these people have any evidence of any of this stuff. And they all are not accusing them criminally so that these people can be convicted as sex offenders and be sent to prison. No, they want money. So then it takes me back to the issue of what happens in when in the draft in the NBA or the NFL, when they are signing players, that often clubs, what they do now is that they advise these young guys to be very, very careful of women because of what has happened in the past with women who are sleeping with successful athletes for the purpose of claiming large sums of money later and accusing them of false SA charges or false rape charges. So much so that the NFL and the NBA has now been known to advise players that if you want to engage in bedroom fun, use escorts. That is what they are advising these young guys now. Use escorts. And even when you use escorts, they advise them use protection and make sure that at every point of this encounter you have full custody of the used condoms, because of also of the events that has happened in the past in terms of how women take used condoms that were used in when they were having bedroom fun with these successful and powerful men and take them home with them, and then they inseminate themselves in order to get pregnant. And then once they get pregnant, then courts have given these women granted them child support rulings against these men if it can be shown that this woman took a used condom and she inseminated herself with it. So we've got to a point now where, I mean, we know that like powerful and rich men are always going to be doing all kinds of things with women, because women love powerful men and rich men, and men in general want to have as much sex with as many women as possible. It has come to a point now where men are advising each other to, if in your home you must have surveillance cameras, you must have all kinds of audio recordings and all kinds of documentable evidence to show that whatever happened between you and a particular lady at a given time happened with her full consent. It is much more tricky, obviously, in hotels and all those places, but even there are certain means and measures that men are being advised to take to make sure that if anything happens in the fast part like in the future, where a woman that you had some bedroom fun with in a hotel in Atlanta or LA or Houston or Miami or New York City or any corner of the United States of America, you can actually show that no, she actually provided her full consent. And for me, also, that's the advice that I would advise men, rich men, that guys, not just the rich men, even guys who are up and coming, be very, very careful what you are doing and who you are doing it with. And try by every means necessary to document things, to have evidence of consent. And and I'm not saying that you need to get a woman to sign a consent form before you engage in bedroom activities with her, but in some instances, it looks like we might actually be going to that direction where women will have to sign consent forms. And I would actually particularly advise men who who want to do things that are to the extreme, like for instance bondage sex and things like that, or whatever you call it, BDSM, to take extra precaution, because when you're engaging in this sort of kinky and wild stuff like BDSM, there are a lot of bruising and minor injuries that people might suffer, where bad actors might just present themselves in front of a doctor the following day and say that they have been raped. So you might actually, especially if you are engaging in those kind of things, you might want to actually have evidence of consent, evidence of content of consent that you're gonna be doing this sort of thing. Because we are living in a very, 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 very wild, wild, wild time. And and once someone presents themselves in front of a doctor and they have minor injuries, scratches, bruises, and when the doctor observes them down there on their fun parts or lady parts, it actually looks like there was some sort of force, which tends to happen when people are doing this BDSM stuff, which be my guest, whatever makes you happy, people. That could actually be evidence that will be submitted in a court of law as you potentially raped this woman. So, fellas, be very, very careful what you are doing. We are living in very, very, very strange times. And whatever, it doesn't matter how much you think that this woman likes you, you feel like she's down for you, she wanna give it up to you, or whatever. Just have a process, a method in which you can document that consent was given. That's all you need to have. because that might actually save your life, save you from going to prison, save your career, save your business deals, save you from all kinds of problems or losing millions of dollars from grifters who are trying to grift men. Yeah, so with that said, I'm actually very, very glad that the jury in this case of Sean Combs did not buy any of the BS, and they ruled based on the evidence that was presented before them. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are complaining that, oh no, he got off because he's rich. But the same people are actually saying that, oh, there's a lot of black men who are in prison because they were forced into plea deals and because they didn't have good lawyers. But at the same time, when a man has a good lawyer who can actually hire a team of lawyers and investigators and forensic analysts and forensic investigators and all of that to actually mount a good and credible defense, then all of a sudden, oh, the jurors were bored, or the judge was bored, or there's some sort of like conspiracy theory in terms of why he wasn't found guilty, because the presumption here is that he was guilty, even though none of us know what happened. Yeah, so I'm actually this verdict actually makes me very, very, very happy. And I warn you, gentlemen, be very careful. Be very careful. I don't care whether you are in the US or Canada or in Europe, UK, Spain, wherever, or even whether you're in South Africa, be very careful. We are living in very, very weird times. As long as you have something going for yourself as a man, whether you are a successful doctor, engineer, whatever, or you are a small business owner and you are starting to pick up, or you even a blogger, a streamer who is picking up, you're actually starting to make money. If you are going to be involved with any form of bedroom activity that does not involve a spouse, you need to have a way of demonstrating. Because we've moved to a point now where you need to prove your innocence as opposed to that your accuser needs to prove your guilt. So you need to have a way. It doesn't care whether it's a girlfriend. As long as you are engaged in any kind of bedroom activity with a woman, you need to find a way to demonstrate that consent was given. That's all that I'm going to say about all of that, because folks, it's very wild, and I'm happy for Diddy. I'm not particularly his fan. I don't even like hip hop or anything that has to do with his world. But for me, I'm very aggrieved by how men are being treated in the West right now. And it has to stop. And while we are fighting these battles, I have to say that, gentlemen, protect yourself at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Guard your seed as well. Be in control at all times in terms of where your seed is going. Okay, folks. See you on the next one.